We're back with On the Road of Recovery with Robyn from Cleveland. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Thank you so much for coming out and joining us. Can you start off by describing your childhood?
Yeah. I was born October 7th, 1977 to John and Frances Montgomery. My mother worked for the phone company for my entire childhood. My father was a Vietnam vet, and I've learned over the years that my lead is my lead and his issues were his issues, but I have to touch on him. He never got help for his addiction issues. And at the end of the day, it's what killed him. And I will touch on that later on. I grew up, I went to school, kind of a loner. I joined the Mississippi Army National Guard at 17. And I'm one of those weirdo drunks who can remember their first drink and when. It was October 28th, 1995. If you're a fan of the local hometown baseball team, you'll know that was Game 6 of the 1995 World Series.
Yeah.
Atlanta Braves versus the Cleveland Indians. I was with a bunch of Atlanta Braves fans. They won the game. I'm 18 years old, and a bunch of people are celebrating, and somebody hands me a can of Budweiser. I go, "Here, Monty! Hey, the Braves won! Yay!" Look on good. And that was the start. I drank to forget about some of the stuff I'd seen and participated in when I was in the Army.
Okay. And did you endure any consequences during that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to Bosnia in the spring and summer of 1998. Mm-hmm. I saw some mass grave sites, and when I came home, that's when I really started drinking heavily. Mm-hmm. I was also sexually assaulted when I was in the Army.
Oh.
That didn't help my drinking. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'd say my progression started pretty much from a 1 beer or 2 beer a week, mm-hmm. every other week, to almost by the time I got out of the Army, I was drinking heavily.
And did you ever ask anybody for help?
I didn't. I was okay. I didn't have a problem.
Okay, gotcha.
I didn't have a problem, and I drank and drank and drank for the next 11 years after I'd gotten out of the service.
Okay. And during that time, how were your relationships affected? How was your life affected by your drinking?
I jokingly say now that's my previous life. I was okay. 2 marriages, but I was okay. I lived at home, but I was okay. I blew through $150,000 in the span of 4 years, but I was okay. But I was okay.
Okay. So what made you decide that you wanted to do something different?
I saw myself becoming my old man. I saw what his addiction issues had done to my mother and I. And I could see what I was going to end up doing to my then wife and child. And I said, no. This was October 2010. So I checked myself into the local VA rehab. Mm-hmm. And I did that for about 6 months. If you're a veteran, your VA's there for you. Use it, abuse it, because those are your benefits. But anyway, but toward the end of my treatment, I did some foolish things, and they asked me to leave. And then I went from being required to go to meetings to not being required to go to meetings. Mm-hmm. My meetings started slowly going downward, and I ended up starting to drink again around July, August of 2011. And like the book says, and you hear through the rooms, I picked right up where I left off. It got pretty bad, especially toward the end. I had a little apartment, and my life had gotten very small. I remember I had a friend that I found again on Facebook, and I remember talking to this friend a lot, and just crying about my life. I was whining and crying about, the injustice of the world. Mm-hmm. And I remember this vividly, November the 5th. It was my last drunk, and I remember just saying the same stuff to my friend on the phone. And the friend says, well, why don't you go back to those rooms you used to go to? When you were trying to not drink, you seemed happier. So anyway, the next day comes. I was supposed to spend the afternoon with my child. I came to pick them up. Their mother looked at me, said, no, they have a play date. Come back next week. So I leave, I get my truck, and I'm driving around Little Rock, and I'm at a stoplight, and I think to myself, well, I guess I'm going to do what I've always done, which was go to the liquor store, get my fifth of Jack and my liter of Coke, go back home and get a pizza. But I hear this voice go off in the back of my head, and the voice now I know is my higher power. I've heard this voice maybe 2 or 3 other times in my experiences. And the voice said, John, that was my name at the time, get your ass back in those rooms. Because if you don't, I promise you're going to lose what you got. So I listened. I found it. I had no clue where the meetings I used to go to had moved to. It was the Wolf Street Center in Little Rock, Arkansas. They had moved to a new building, and I had no clue, but I found it. And that was November the 6th, 2011 at the 5:30 meeting, happy hour meeting. And that started me on my road to recovery.
So can you share, what did you do at that time? If you can remember back, how did you, put together one day and then a week and whatnot? What were those, what worked for you in those early times?
Stubbornness. First of all, I'm not a good listener. I don't take instruction well, even after all these years in the program. Those first, not necessarily the first year, not even, but those first month and a half, I white knuckled it until just something clicked. And I think I'm one of the lucky ones where the obsession to quit was lifted early. Mm-hmm. I was stubborn, and to this day, especially with all the madness that's been going around, there some days at the beginning I just didn't want to reintroduce myself. So yeah, I had some really good sponsorship in Seattle. I got a very good firm foundation in the steps. But around summer of 2013, that one of my demons came out to play again. My gender issues. Now at the time, I was about 1.5 years sober. My mental health issues I was doing good. I was on meds. And I went to therapy on a regular basis. So everything was okay. But that my gender stuff was acting up again. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the main topics of therapy. But I hadn't really, I guess, to pardon my French, I hadn't shit or gotten off the pot yet.
Okay.
So this one night, it was around July, August of 2013, I had this God moment, HP God moment again, and the voice says, John, if you don't do something about that gender stuff, you're going to drink again. 3 weeks later, I started transitioning from male to female. and that was August 13th. Yeah, August 13th, 2013.
And can you talk about how you managed your recovery, your mental health through transitioning?
It was all, I've learned over the years that it's you can't compartmentalize,
Okay.
especially mental health in the rooms. Mental health and recovery are all one and the same. You can't have. I'm as I get older in the rooms and older in life, I've become a firm believer in that you can't have one without the other. I've known some pretty miserable motherfuckers in the rooms, and pardon my French.
Yes.
And they're miserable because their mental health house isn't in order.
So could you share what are some action steps that work for you that you do to deal with everything together?
I go to therapy on a regular basis, at least once a month. I take my psych meds religiously every day. I have a good circle of people, Facebook friends and online friends, that I've been through the wars with them, so to speak. And then I know that if I have anything hurting in my life, I can go to them. Yeah.
Okay. Could you maybe think of a time that you had an issue, a problem, a loss, something that came up in your life, and how you managed that?
Yeah. I lost my dad July 4th, 2014. I remember the most about that night and that day is that I was not alone. Of the 4 people who were really there for me that night, 3 of them were in the rooms. 3 of them I met through the rooms, and they held me close. So I go home, take care of stuff with my dad, come back, and for the next, I dare say, 6 months to a year, I was a mess. For about 6 months of that, I was a blithering idiot. It was that love in the rooms and the program that helped.
Absolutely, and I think that's part of the addiction is so isolating, and recovery is not. And that's if you are willing to just take those few steps to be able to get out there and get to know people, they really will carry you through those times. So shifting gears a little bit, can you share a bit about how your relationships are today, with people that knew you in active addiction, people that you've met in recovery? How are relationships for you today?
I have relationships today, versus before recovery I didn't. I'm a friend, and I have friends because of the rooms. Even though there are people here today, especially in this event, that I don't see as often as I used to pre-COVID. Whenever I see them, I smile, and they smile, and we just give each other big hugs and stuff. And it's also something I call the miracle of recovery in the rooms, in that some of these people who I remember vividly when their first days in the rooms, and to see where they were and to see where they are today. That's one of the miracles of the program.
Right. Absolutely. How about your relationship with your son? How is that today?
It's okay. They visited with my mother a couple months ago. My son, I found out, my son is trans. Okay. Going from female to male. I went the other way, male to female. I knew that they were not a straight girl. Their mother had told me that from a very young age, and fine. But about a year ago, Her mother had told me that they didn't identify anymore as a girl.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to be gender
Neutral.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
You would think somebody who's a letter, who has 2 of the 4 big letters of the alphabet would know more about this stuff. It threw me for a loop because no parent wants their kid to go through the same shit they did. But because of, once again, through my friends in the rooms, they carried me through that little mini stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have a relationship. It's not where I want it to be because they live in Arkansas. I don't have full custody or any kind of custody, and I live here. But I talk to them once a week, and it's okay.
Yeah. Can you talk about the gifts that you have been given in recovery?
The gifts, wow. Everything I have in my life. From the watch on my wrist, to the dress, to the skirt that I'm wearing, to these boobs, store-bought boobs, my face, everything I have in my life. The roof over my head, the woman I share my life with, that I'm married to, my transition, everything I have in my life is because of the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous.
And with that, can you talk about how you, those intangible gifts that you've been given?
Just to know that this too shall pass. You know, to know that it'll pass like a kidney stone, but it'll pass.
Do you have any words of hope or words of wisdom that you could share with our audience for someone who is trying to get sober that's really struggling? Maybe something that you felt was helpful.
Oh God. Be stubborn. Be hard-headed. Be all that in a bag of chips. If you're just know that if you keep coming back, if you keep doing what you need to do, if you keep doing what you're told to do, it gets better. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it'll get better.
Is there anything that we missed that you would like to share?
Get outside help. There was a strain of thought in the rooms over the years that thankfully is dying out, where the program will solve all your problems. If you were abused, you can find answers for it in the book. If your father raped you, you can find answers for it in the first 164. Bullshit. If you have issues above and beyond, you get outside help. You get help. You get outside help. Because for me, for this recovering alcoholic, the rooms provide the skeleton of my life. You know, they provide the foundation of my life. What I do with that foundation and how I build it, and how I build the skeleton of that, that's up to me. But I can't have what I have today without the rooms and without my mental health being in order.
Beautifully said. We really appreciate you coming out to the Lakewood location today. Your story is going to help so many people who think that they're alone and there's no hope. You are proof that there's way out of addiction into the freedom of recovery.
Thank you.
Thank you.